Hey y'all, I'm in the kitchen tonight really, and I am getting started on our Thanksgiving dinner. Yes, I do start 2 days in advance because I cannot do everything Wednesday night after work. My parents are hosting it at the family farm as usual, but I am apparently the only person in my family that knows how to make traditional Southern cornbread dressing. So we're going to remedy that today, and I'm going to record myself making it, so in the future, if anyone in my family or anyone out there wants to make it, then they can just look at this video and make it just like I used to make it, or I currently make it. So I like to use corn muffin mixes. This is Jiffy. I personally like the other kind. What is it? Martha White. Couldn't remember what it's called. But they were sold out of the Martha White, so I'm using Jiffy, and sometimes I do use Jiffy. It just tends to be kind of a sweeter cornbread than the Martha White ones, but it works good enough. So I'm going to make, for this recipe, 4 boxes of Jiffy cornbread mix, just like on the box. You follow the directions on the box, which comes out to 2 cast iron skillets full of cornbread. Now, for those of you who are going to say, well, that's not really homemade if you don't make your own cornbread from scratch. Well, sweetheart, you didn't mine your salt, you didn't grow your corn, so we're just not even going to go down that rabbit hole of how homemade is it if you use pre-made cornbread mixes. So anyway, I'm going to get started on making this cornbread, and then I will be back with the next part tomorrow. All right, it's the next day. I did my 2 pans of cornbread, and then I just kind of crumbled it up in the pan here. Nothing really special. You can see a lot of it still kind of together. But anyway, so let's get on to the next part. Alright, so I'm going to open 2 sticks of salted butter. I guess if you're trying to cut back on your salt, you could do unsalted butter, but for my recipe, we're going to do 2 sticks of salted butter to start with. Then I'm going to take my celery and I'm going to wash it. Cut off the ends for my compost. Set that aside. And then start chopping the celery. You don't really want huge chunks of celery, so go ahead and make sure you cut them kind of small. You can cut them up, dice them if you want, once you finish this part. If you're making a smaller batch of dressing, of course, than I am, you don't need this much celery, but we're cooking for at least 15 people, if not more, so I'm making a pretty big batch of dressing. All right. Chop it up as small as you want it. That's up to you. And in the meantime, that butter's over there starting to melt. If you're making other recipes with celery, you might want to cut it all up at once and only use half this in your dressing. That's up to you. So, let me see. This is one of those recipes where I don't have a recipe. I just know my ingredients and I kind of wing it. So I think that's gonna be enough. Okay. Save the rest of this for something else. Now I'm going to dice a large onion. Again, you don't want big chunks, just want some small pieces. I switch back and forth knives. I have arthritis, so holding certain things, cutting certain things can sometimes be a pain. So get all your onions all chopped up, diced up, whatever, and then get those thrown over into the same pan with the celery and the butter. And again, I did not use the whole, well, let's see. Oh, my eyes. I had a little bit of onion left, so I'm going to stick it in there with the celery. We'll use that in a soup later. So I have the butter, onions, and celery in my pan, and I'm going to saute these until the vegetables are tender, and then I will be back. Might be back sooner. We'll see. And now I'm going to go ahead and add my third stick of butter. Like I said, I don't really follow a recipe. I just go by looks, what it looks like. And I know that's not as much butter as I normally use. So looks like I'm going to end up using 3 sticks of butter with the celery and onions. So go ahead and keep sauteing that and get that butter melted, and then I'll be back. Alright, now that the celery and onions are getting soft, we're going to go ahead and just pour those into the cornbread mixture that we have set aside. Hold that over here where y'all can see it. Go ahead and pour that in there. Mix that up. If you want. So the next thing I'm going to do is pour my chicken broth in here. Now I bought a 32-ounce thing of chicken broth. You can also use turkey broth from either your chicken or from the store. I mean your turkey or from the store. And sometimes you need more than the 4 cups or 32 ounces. You just gotta see how moist it is after you get it all stirred up. Keep adding more. That is all of that 32-ounce thing of chicken broth. Alright, so the next thing you're going to want to do is add some sage. Now again, I do not measure, so I don't know how much to tell you, but I'm guessing some of you are going to like more sage, some of you are going to like less sage, so you're going to do this to taste. I'm going to start by putting quite a bit. That's about half of this little, how many ounces are in this jar? There's 0.5 ounces in this jar. So I'm going to start by adding half the jar and mix that up. You'll notice I haven't added any salt or pepper yet because, so I used a 34% less sodium chicken broth. So I can't just tell you, okay, add this amount of salt, because it depends on how salty your broth is. And then, of course, whether you use the butter that has salt in it or is unsalted. These things are going to make a difference in how much salt you use. That's why you do it by taste. And I can tell by the way it looks if it's there, and it's not there yet. So Now another thing you're gonna add are some eggs. You wanna add at least 2, maybe 3 or 4. It's up to you. Just gonna whisk those up a little bit and then put those in here. I'll go ahead and add some pepper. Okay. Now this is where I want to get it good and mixed, because next I'm going to be tasting it. If you're squeamish about tasting raw eggs, then you'll want to taste it for the seasonings before you put the raw eggs in there. That's up to you. I'm one of those people that doesn't mind eating raw cookie dough. So let me get this mixed up and then I will be back. Alright, so at this point I'm going to taste it and see if it needs any salt or sage. Definitely needs salt. Let's start with some salt. And get that all mixed in. And I'm going to add some sage. All right, when you get it to where it tastes good to you, like the dressing that Grandma used to make, with just enough sage and salt, then go ahead and smooth out the top. And we're gonna put this in a 350-degree oven for about an hour. Now, if yours isn't the right moistness, and you can see about how moist mine is, then you could add some more chicken broth or melted butter to it, but mine's just fine, so I'm going to go ahead and get it put in the oven now. And we'll be back in about an hour to check on this. Actually, I'll check on it after about 30 minutes and see if I need to put a lid on it. And there you go. It's a nice golden brown color, so it's ready to come out. I'm going to go ahead and let it cool off, and then I will put a lid on it and put it in the refrigerator after it's cooled off, and we will heat this up again tomorrow. So that's all there is to making a southern cornbread dressing. Thank you guys for watching. It is 1 o'clock in the morning and this mama's going to bed. You guys have a great Thanksgiving.